Hello, and welcome to Halloween Coloring. This is episode 3. Before we get started though, I have a couple of quick announcements to make. I want to congratulate Ria Gelmers for winning my first Halloween event with this coloring. It's simply phenomenal, isn't it? As a prize, Ria is getting a copy of my book, Knights and Mares Halloween, that this page actually came from. My second Halloween coloring event starts today. I'll give you guys all the details on what it is and how to join it after the lesson, so stay tuned for that. Also, I have 2 new admins in my Facebook group home, Mel Flay and Vanessa Anderson. Welcome to the family. Alright, now let's color. Back in September, we talked about Halloween tutorial topics, and you guys voted on glowing pumpkins as the most popular option. So, let's make those pumpkins glow. Glow effects are always tricky because we can't actually make our paper glow with conventional pencil coloring. The closest we can ever get to the brightest possible light is pure white. But white seems so boring. How can we trick ourselves into seeing light instead of just white? We do it through the use of contrast. Let me show you. I'll skip to the part where I already have the background colored so that we can jump straight to the pumpkin part. I'm working on tan-toned paper. I chose tan because it's a nice warm mid-tone. There isn't a lot of pigment here, but it's not white, and it will save me a lot of time on coloring this page. And believe me, you do need to color the whole page to achieve the glow effect, or at least as much of the area around the subject as possible. Typical to my style, I start with white. I'm using white charcoal to fill the hollow parts of the lanterns. A lot of you have been reaching out to me asking about the exact brand of white charcoal that I prefer and how to use it. I'll put the links to all the materials that I will use on this page in the video description, including the exact brand of white charcoal that I prefer. I must say though, I don't know if one brand of this stuff is necessarily better than the other. It's more about how you use it than what brand you get. I've seen a lot of comments about how it doesn't bind, and that's very true. It does not bind over pencil coloring. It works best on clean paper, which is why you always see me start with white charcoal on toned paper. If you prefer to add your white effects at the end of your coloring, there are better tools for that, like acrylic paint or white gel pens. Okay, now that I have the lightest parts done, let's move on to yellow. I have several tones of yellow already pre-selected, and I'm applying them starting with the lightest and progressing to the brighter ones. And I'm using my yellows to create a smooth gradient from white outwards. Notice how I'm intentionally not staying within the lines. This is the beginning of the glow effect. We want the light spilling out of the pumpkins to slightly blur the clean edges. You may even go over the outlines with a white gel pen here if you want. That's a pretty cool effect. Now that I have a nice soft yellow gradient, I move on to pumpkin orange. This part is pretty straightforward. I color in the rest of the pumpkins in a solid uniform layer of orange, but that won't be my final pumpkin color. Prepare for lots of layers. Remember, we want these pumpkins to glow. The best way to appreciate something that's glowing is to put it in the dark. So it's important to convey the illusion of darkness all around. These pumpkins are hollowed out and lit from the inside, but they're not transparent or translucent. If you've ever carved a pumpkin, you know exactly how thick they are. So it's really important to avoid making these guys look like there's any light that can pass through them other than the parts that are carved out. For this effect, we need to go dark, really dark. I'm using a dark purple for this effect, and I'm using it generously. I'm covering my orange layer almost entirely, leaving only a thin band of actual orange around the carved shapes. So why did I go through the trouble of making the orange layer to begin with? I find that taking the time to make these different color layers really pays off. The orange undertone makes the purple richer, and also makes the gradient transition from yellow through orange to purple smoother and more attractive. But purple over orange isn't enough in this case. I switched to a darker orange to further define the gradient and add more depth and richness to my purple tones. Purple and orange are best friends. It's always a good idea to use them together. They bring out the best in each other. I really like how this is turning out, but I want the glow effect to be even more vibrant. So I add red to the darkest parts as well. Yeah, that looks nice. Between the orange glow of the candles inside and the natural orange color of the pumpkins, we should be getting a lot of red, orange, and yellow colors. But mainly around the carved areas, not on the main body of the pumpkin. Most of the solid parts of the pumpkin will actually be quite dark. So I'm adding dark umber all over, leaving just a thin strip of dark to red to orange to yellow to white gradient. And I will apply the same effects to my baby pumpkins. Now for the background. I cannot stress enough how important it is to invest time in a properly dark background when going for glow effects. The more darkness you introduce to the page, thus isolating the glowing areas, the more vibrant your glow effect will appear. Nothing else on this page should be as light as the white, yellow, and orange tones on the pumpkins. If there's even one other element that's as light as these parts, the illusion will fail. Hello! Sorry to interrupt. If you're watching this, you found my very first Easter egg. That's confusing because it's Halloween. Halloween egg? Doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Anyway, because you're a dedicated video fan, I want to give you a present. Send me a private message on Facebook with the code word DoodleBug, and I will send you an exclusive video fan coloring page. This page will not appear in any published books, it won't be available on Etsy or Patreon or Tome. The only way to get it is by sending me the magic word. Don't share it in the comments below though. Our little secret. If there are any objects that are actually white or yellow in color, like some little toys or trinkets or candy that are around, they need to be properly hidden in shadow, unless of course they're directly in front of the lanterns and are illuminated by the candlelight. The cool thing about jack-o'-lanterns though is their very weak glow. And what I mean is that they don't illuminate very far around them. They just kind of make the pumpkins glow, but nothing else. So you don't really need to worry much about how they will cast light on surrounding objects, because they don't really cast light. Look at the leaves here, for instance. Normally they would be pale green, but even though they're very near to the lanterns, I'm coloring them dark gray because they're not well lit at all. Let's take a look at the finished piece. They look like they're glowing, right? And it's all due to contrast and isolating the lightest parts. See how I left the brightest parts pure white with just a little bit of bright yellow and orange around them? And nowhere else on the page are there elements of the same colors to compete with the effect. That type of isolation of an element establishes it as something different. In this case, light. The background is uniformly very dark. Not black, although it could be, but very dark. And while I didn't take my background all the way to the edges, I took it close enough to demonstrate that the entire surrounding scene is barely lit. Also, because my paper is tan and not white, I can keep the neutral edges. The light inside my pumpkin is still the brightest element. So what do you think? Want to give it a shot? Come to my Facebook group Tome, find the new Halloween event, it will be one of the first announcements. Join. When you join, you will be able to collect this page that I made as a gift for you. Follow the event instructions and make them glow. The winner will be announced on Halloween, and as a prize will receive my original drawing, Dead in the Moonlight, signed and shipped anywhere in the world. So I'll see you there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and come join me on Facebook. I'm Lisa Mitrakin. Thanks for watching and happy Halloween coloring. I'll see you in part 4. Bye!